Hey, what's up you guys? My name is Jackie and welcome to my channel, Leisure Reads. So I recently read a thriller that I really want to discuss with you. So today we are going to be doing another book review. No spoilers, so feel free to watch this whole video if you want to know just kind of what I thought of the book, and maybe at the end of it you guys will want to read it as well. So today we are going to be talking about The Woman in the Window by A.J. Finn. Anna Fox is a shut-in, living her life confined to the same few rooms and floors that are in her existing house. Absolutely terrified of the outside world pressing in. She is a recluse, a woman who suffers from agoraphobia, but before that she was a very successful child psychologist with a happy, loving family all under the same roof. Now she spends her days roaming the halls of her house with a glass bottle of wine and keeping tabs on her neighbors' comings and goings. One day, while checking in on her newest neighbors, she witnesses something she shouldn't have seen. What does someone who can't leave the house do when she is positive she witnessed a crime, and she is the only one who cares enough to help? This book is told completely from Anna's point of view, and with the exception of a few chapters, is told mostly in Anna's present-day situation. This book is sectioned out by days, and the entire book takes place in about a 2 to 3 week period. The book starts in the last week of October and ends in about the second week of November. I thought this was a really interesting way to set this book up, and totally makes sense for somebody who is confined to her house. It makes more sense to section it out day by day because that is how she's experiencing life. Day by day, living vicariously through her movies and what she sees going on outside of her window. First of all, let's talk about the pacing of this book. It was absolutely gripping. I did not want to put this book down, and I read it in only a couple of days. I would just sit in my reading chair completely absorbed in this book, and I was really compelled to keep reading. The writing style of this book is very good, but I will say Anna did get a little bit annoying as you're reading, with her constant asides to herself, although this makes complete sense in a character who doesn't get a lot of social interaction and is very confined to her house. It makes sense for her to be talking to herself a little bit more than other characters do. Obviously, I cannot speak too much about the agoraphobia representation in this book because I do not know much about it, but I really enjoyed reading about it in this book. I thought it was well presented from what I know. And I thought it was really interesting to see how she tries to push her bounds and go outside several times throughout this book, and you can really feel how anxious and overwhelming it all is to her. I also liked that you can see how Anna really missed her job as a psychologist. Now that she is stuck at home, she helps other people on the agoraphobia chat site. She frequently talks with people on there and they discuss how they are dealing with things, and I really just thought that that piece was nice to see. Other than not being able to go outside takes a toll on Anna because she is not able to practice anymore, and I know as somebody who works full-time and enjoys her job, I think it would be very hard for me one day to just have to give it all up, and I would still be curious on how it's going. So I think being able to see how Anna sometimes looks up some of the children she worked with to see how they're progressing and how she still finds ways to use her psychology in her everyday life was really accurate, and I really enjoyed that part of it. I think Anna as a character was pretty well defined, and a lot of her actions seem well in line with who she is as a character. Now on to what I didn't like about this book. For me, this book was extremely predictable. I had a major part of the plot figured out by page 30-ish in this book, and the final reveal was something I had considered and discarded about halfway through the book, thinking that it would be way too obvious. Turns out that's exactly what they did. I might be an exception to this book, as the reviews are pretty mixed. A lot of people really loved this book and loved what happened and the plot twists they didn't see coming, and some, like me, thought the plot was pretty predictable. I will say that personally, I am pretty over the alcoholic main character trope. This is how a lot of authors decide to make their characters untrustworthy, and it just gets a little old for me. It's been used over and over again, and frankly, I would like to see something new and refreshing done. And like I said, I found the final reveal to be a little predictable and just left me a little underwhelmed. I say all this not to say that it's a bad book. I ended up giving this book 3 out of 5 stars, and I did really enjoy it. This is honestly one of the most gripping, hooking thrillers that I have read in a while. Even though I had predicted most of the plot in the beginning half of the book, I was still compelled to continue reading and see if that's actually what happened. Still kept reading this book over and over again, and I kept picking it up and I kept being drawn right back into this book, even though I had a solid, well-rounded prediction for what would happen. This book, unfortunately for me, did not live up to the hype. It was all I heard talked about last year as one of the best thrillers people have ever read, and for me it just fell a little flat. I definitely have read better thrillers, but it is not a terrible book. I unfortunately just thought this book was pretty generic and filled with many thriller tropes, like the unpredictable alcoholic. I believe this book won the 2018 Best Thriller Award. I personally don't agree with that. I think it was a popular, well-read book, and it was gripping, but I think that there were better books in the genre that came out in 2018. For example, The Last Time I Lied. So I ended up giving this book 3 out of 5 stars, and I would recommend it if you have not read it, as it is super gripping and it will keep you interested from the beginning to end. But I would recommend this book if you are new or interested in exploring the thriller genre, as I think if you're new going into it, you probably wouldn't be able to predict it as well as people who have read thrillers more often. But this was a debut novel by A.J. Finn, and I am super, super excited to see what else A.J. Finn comes out with in the future, as this was one of the most gripping books I've read, but not one of the most unique. I will definitely be keeping my eyes out for any more books published by A.J. Finn in the future. That is all I have for you guys today. Thank you guys so much for watching. Feel free to follow me on Instagram, Goodreads, and Twitter. The links are in the description below. I hope to see you guys again soon, and in the meantime, make it a great day. Bye!